In fact, I'll make a bold prediction. I believe that at some point in the next 5 years, we will see at least one major global household name auto OEM, as well as many other small ones, fail or need a bailout due to failure to gain access to a critical material.
You guys, MP Materials just smashed revenues and earnings, accelerated production timelines, and then straight started flexing on some auto OEM fools. And I'm covering all of it in this video. But first, let's address the bankrupt OEM monkey in the room. Listen to the full quote this time for a bit more context.
The COVID shock has happened in the backdrop of an already weary geopolitical environment with respect to supply chain security. In the materials space, I previously mentioned demand backlogs for some things that stretch into next year. And of course, that assumes limited incremental demand in the coming months and no acceleration from an infrastructure bill. What might happen if we believe the hundreds of billions of dollars of projected investment across new and legacy OEMs on EVs alone in the next few years? I believe that if you do the math on some of the quantities implied by these projected investments, shortages and shocks are here to stay for quite some time. In fact, I'll make a bold prediction. I believe that at some point in the next 5 years, we will see at least one major global household name auto OEM, as well as many other small ones, fail or need a bailout due to failure to gain access to a critical material. By the way, I do not mean that prices went up on them. I mean that they will be one of the ones who realize too late that the new market regime means the supply chain is existential in the fourth industrial revolution. In this kind of world, our assets and our opportunity set are more strategic and valuable than ever. I do believe that some of the last companies to realize that supply chain is existential, it's going to be existential and they'll be too late. So I think that those who don't figure out how to lock down deals with us or someone like us, they're gonna regret it.
I kind of can't believe MP just said that. They straight up said they think an OEM is going to go bust because that OEM won't be able to procure enough of MP's products. You know what this tells me? Well, obviously, there is an OEM or two out there acting such a fool with their supply chain that MP felt the need to flex on them. But seriously, it sounds like some OEMs really need to get their ish together. But more importantly, this statement implies that MP expects demands for their products to outpace supply by hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of vehicles. The supply shortage could be so big that it forces an entire OEM to go under. And because of this, I'm thinking prices for rare earths will likely climb significantly within the next 5 years as customers compete with each other and bid up limited supply. This is especially good news given in just the past year, MP's rare earth oxide prices per metric ton have increased by 137%. Listen to this.
Okay, great. Yeah, that's helpful. And then, I guess, I know you can't probably get into too many specifics, but just, are your customers or sort of potential customers in sort of like the EV supply chain kind of expressing more interest, I guess in signing, sort of long-term supply agreements? I just sort of any color you could provide there would be helpful.
Yeah, well, I would say that, we've had dialogue with a variety of parties, and it's broad. It's not just EVs, right? And it certainly is EVs intensely, but it's also, there's, you've heard me say all of the things that are, out there, wind turbines, drones, all of these exciting things. And, there's standard other industrial items that, you wouldn't think of. And so as part of this transformation for electrification, magnetics are really important. So there's a lot of industrial customers that we are, pretty, I would say, engaged with and figuring things out. I think that, there's a lot of demand. So we're having all of those conversations and also realizing that we're in an outstanding strategic position. And so the last thing we want to do is make a bad deal for ourselves. We obviously want to make the right deal, and if it means being patient to make the right deal, we'll be patient. But we certainly have what I believe are a lot of options on the table, and we'll continue moving forward until we ultimately do something. But again, the growth prospects are pretty exciting.
Why would MP refuse to enter into long-term contracts? Oh, that's right, because those rare earths are probably going to sell for a boatload more in a few years than they do today. In case you can't tell, I am super pumped about this conference call. After all, MP is the second largest position in my portfolio behind Tesla. Okay, now that we've got MP's flex out of the way, let's take a look at the other gems from this quarter's earnings. True to its name, MP had that money printer rolling in Q2 2021. Money printer stock reported second quarter earnings of 15 cents per share. This beat the consensus estimate of 13 cents per share. MP's second quarter revenues of $73 million also beat the consensus estimate of $58.3 million. And there's already 7 analysts following MP materials, which is not bad for a company that IPO'd just last year. This stock is already on Wall Street's radar, but I suspect most of Wall Street is too short-term focused to front-run MP's Phase 2 and Phase 3 expansion and sit in this stock for 5 years, like I plan to do. Which brings us to my favorite part of this earnings call, the Stage 2 and Stage 3 expansion updates. As you recall, in Stage 2, MP plans to install facilities to enable it to separate its high-quality rare earth concentrate into separated rare earth oxides, which are the raw inputs for magnet production. Stage 2 is expected to be completed in 2022. Then, in Stage 3, MP plans to move all the way downstream and build its own facilities to manufacture magnets using its rare earth oxides. Here's the Stage 2 update.
Most of you know that our Stage 2 project is the optimization of our site to move beyond today's profitable concentrate production to separating rare earth oxides at Mountain Pass. Our success is critical to the global industry and supply chain security, since today nearly 90% of all rare earth separation is done in China. Stage 2 is also expected to provide significant upside to our financial profile, as we've spoken about on prior calls. Let's turn to slide 11 to see recent photos of our progress, including some of the key equipment being installed. The top left shows the rebar being laid for the foundation of our salt crystallizer, and below that, one of the key crystallizer components being delivered to the plant. I guess it looks like a space capsule, but it actually does water treatment. On the top right, you can see the inside of our new concentrate dryer. Isn't that beautiful inside? I love this photo. And lastly, on the bottom right, you can see the steel structure for our new concentrate filter press has gone up and is shown surrounded by 2 cranes. The rest of the picture is our existing facility. Moving on to slide 12. One of the big upgrades for Stage 2 is installing a roaster back into the process. Here you can see a picture of a roaster, also referred to as a calciner. It has officially arrived at Mountain Pass, and as of yesterday, has been placed on its foundation frame. This roughly 90-foot long rotary oven will evenly heat our concentrate without the need for any chemicals. The oxidation process will allow us to cost-effectively remove roughly 20,000 metric tons annually of lower-value cerium concentrate from the process. By removing the majority of the cerium, the remaining processes to isolate the high-value NdPr will operate at much lower cost with a much improved environmental profile, while also allowing us to get higher levels of first-pass, on-spec production of NdPr. In addition, we continue to make nice progress across Stage 2. Structures for filtration, drying, and roasting are starting to take shape. The foundation for the salt crystallizer is advancing, as the picture in the previous slide demonstrated. Improvements to our leaching, impurity removal, and separations processes are underway as well. Vertical construction is happening, and the start of installations is anticipated to follow later in the year. We are optimistic as Stage 2 is already visibly taking shape at Mountain Pass, and we believe our goal to achieve production levels of 6,075 metric tons of NdPr in 2023 remains on track. And then, of course, we expect a significant uplift in our cash flow potential once we complete Stage 2.
I like to see MP staying on track and making progress with its Phase 2 expansion plans. But it's this next update that is a bit more interesting.
To achieve our mission to restore the full rare earth supply chain to the United States, we need to manufacture permanent magnets here. Some of the key elements needed for Stage 3 will be derived from the separation of heavy rare earths. NdPr is the primary ingredient by far in the cost of goods in most rare earth magnets. But small volumes of heavy elements like dysprosium and terbium are also often added as they keep the magnet magnetized at higher operating temperatures. The current design of Stage 2 calls for producing a concentrate of heavy rare earths, but our ambitions have always been higher, as separating heavies on-site meaningfully enhances our ability to fully produce magnets in the United States. Over the last 12 months, in part with funding from the Department of Defense, which we previously disclosed, we have been doing R&D and significant piloting to analyze separating those heavy rare earths ourselves, as has been done during the majority of Mountain Pass's 60-year-plus history. We were also happy to host a senior leadership team from DoD last week to see our progress. The heavy rare earth piloting work has yielded positive results, and we believe demonstrated the commercial feasibility of the project. As such, we are gaining confidence that there is a high return opportunity to separate heavy rare earths at Mountain Pass. Doing so would be strategic to our mission while also generating an attractive return on capital. We expect to share more details with you in the future.
It sounds to me like MP is working on creating a couple new revenue streams by selling dysprosium and terbium in addition to the NdPr it sells today, and is getting government funding to help it accomplish this. Sounds great to me. Now, on to the Stage 3 updates.
We have been busy behind the scenes building an extraordinary team. We've been hiring key engineering and operations talent with expertise in alloy, metal, and magnet science and manufacturing, all of whom are dedicated full-time to the Stage 3 project. The team is diverse and motivated, and the progress we are making gives us the confidence to accelerate the timetable. Therefore, I am pleased to announce that we are moving forward with building a metal, alloy, and magnet manufacturing facility here in the United States, and we expect to share the location before year-end. We are doing detailed work on the potential project and are engaged with several jurisdictions on choosing a site. Our first magnet facility will be modest relative to the scale of the resource at Mountain Pass and our capital structure. It will be scalable in nature, and we expect it to achieve a high ROI. And while the initial facility will be modest relative to the scale of our business, it will be of enormous commercial and geopolitical consequence. The last scaled and vertically integrated domestic magnet producer ceased operations and relocated to China in 2003. We've had a strategic void in our supply chain for nearly 2 decades, and we are racing to fill it as quickly as possible.
This is probably my favorite news from the entire call. Confirmed acceleration of the Stage 3 facilities. The faster MP gets into magnet production, the more dominant MP will become, and the faster that money printer is gonna print. Overall, Q2 2021 was an absolutely outstanding quarter for MP Materials, and I have a feeling the future will hold a whole lot more quarters just like this. Let me know what you think about MP in that comment section. Is MP your favorite mining company play on the electric revolution? Or is there some other mining company you like a little better? You know I'm about that money printer stock. And if we are fortunate enough to get a big enough dip in MP stock price, I may consider adding more to what is already my second largest position. Thanks so much for watching. Peace, y'all.